obviously, one of the things that we are going to be talking about today is the Epstein files. And one of the ways in which I think the Epstein files are relevant and significant, one of the major ways in which they are obviously relevant and significant, is around Jeffrey Epstein's affiliation with potentially our intelligence community, CIA, and also the Mossad, the Israeli spy agency. And yet, mainstream coverage around that has almost always been either completely omitted from the conversation, or when it's even covered at all, like the NPR coverage around it, is presented as an anti-Semitic conspiracy, right? To which I said, one must wonder why any kind of suggestion that Epstein could be an asset for Israel as well as the U.S. is only referred to as an anti-Semitic conspiracy in mainstream media, when there are thousands of emails between Epstein and the former prime minister of Israel, and there's very little coverage on this on mainstream media. Like, this is yet another one of those moments where I think this is yet another one of those moments where the blood libel or anti-Semitism allegations, sorry, dude, but now I care far more about how people in our actual government were related. Vassal states are secondary to that. Wait, what? No, my point is, Israel doesn't operate like a vassal state. Do you not understand the broader point that I'm making? That's it. That's the issue. When you have American media, okay, American legacy publishers refusing to cover this connection between our intelligence community and the Israeli intelligence agencies, with a man who is seemingly the most infamous person in American news right now, Jeffrey Epstein, being the connective tissue there, and that connection is never brought up. And the only times where it's ever brought up is to disparage and to basically say this kind of this kind of connection is simply anti-Semitic. This kind of connection that you're making is simply anti-Semitic. We will not cover the deep ties that Jeffrey Epstein very clearly had to Israel. We will not cover the ties that Jeffrey Epstein had with the former prime minister and other Israeli spies and things of that nature, even though all of that is clearly being discussed in independent media, because Jeffrey Epstein's emails are out there for all to see, and that people say that this is anti-Semitic. It's crazy. What is AU? AU interviewed Bibi? Who's AU? Bibi on Australian news talking about Palestinians? Oh.
It's that simple.
Why do you think?
Here's Representative Thomas Massey. Epstein had close ties to our own intelligence agency and Israel's intelligence agencies. That's why they're trying to stop this.
He is working so hard not to get them released for so many months. What do you think the real reason is?
These files implicate billionaires and friends of his and political donors that he's trying to protect. And Epstein also had close ties to our own intelligence agencies and Israel's intelligence agencies. That's why there's so much effort in trying to stop this. And I do believe they'll try to stop it somewhere else. And that's going to backfire on them too.
So the president.
So that was there's two different angles here that are obviously very interesting. Number one, after a joint initiative from Thomas Massey, who we just saw, okay, and Ro Khanna and numerous other congresspersons that pushed for the Epstein Files Release Act, which got so much public pressure that it actually caused even the Republicans to say, all right, fine, we'll release the files. And Donald Trump actually signed it, right? They were forced to release the Epstein files yesterday in accordance with the law, except the law was very clearly designed to ensure that some of the things that the DOJ did not happen at all. For example, the heavy-handed redactions that the Department of Justice lawyers engaged in directly contradicts the language of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which directed the DOJ to provide internal communications regarding their decisions. not only did they actually hit the heavy marker, the heavy black ink marker, and we saw hundreds and hundreds of pages. According to the BBC, over 90% of the files were redacted. We still haven't even seen the entirety of the files at all, right? And there were instances where, like, there were some publicly available photos, for example, that were redacted as well. Do you have any idea what they would put the image of MJ and Diana Ross with their kids? That's Paris and Prince Jackson, MJ's kids, and Diana with her daughter. The unredacted photos public on the internet. That could have been an accident. That could have been a mistake, or they could have made it so that it looked worse for Bill Clinton or something. But it's very obvious that it was like it was very obvious, as I called months ahead of time, that they would just simply dangle some red meat in front of the base by saying, look, Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton. Don't look at Donald Trump. He's not in any of the photos. Don't look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump was not in the files at all. Donald Trump was not related to Jeffrey Epstein at all. And they went through and basically hid every single instance of Donald Trump, with the exception of one photo that they missed. Okay. And the reason why we know that they absolutely heavily redacted Donald Trump is partially because there were plenty of photos of Donald Trump that the House Oversight Committee had actually released from the Epstein files ahead of time. None of them were in the Epstein files. Okay. And this photo, file 468 from the Epstein files that includes Donald Trump, has reportedly now been removed from the DOJ site release per Oversight Dems. So we found this photo on stream, and we realized when we found this photo that they had forgotten to redact Donald Trump in this photo because he wasn't the main thing in the photo, right? Because he was in the actual cupboard, in the actual drawer. They forgot to redact this photo. So this is one of the only photos in the entire Jeffrey Epstein files where they forgot to remove Donald Trump or redact Donald Trump. Only because it most likely slipped past the AI detectors, or it most likely slipped past the 200 different Department of Justice auditors and lawyers that were looking at this, because it was in the cupboard and you can barely see his face. Now they deleted this photo as well. They took it out of the Department of Justice release after people noticed that they had failed to redact one of the photos of Donald Trump. It's like they're trying to look guilty. It's so insane. And we know this not only because of the discrepancy, but we also know this because Todd Blanche, former Trump defense attorney Todd Blanche, current Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, sent a statement to congressional Republicans in which he admitted that not only had they redacted 1,200 victims from the Epstein files in order to preserve and protect their identities, but they had also redacted the names and identifiers in the same exact standards applied to the victims of politically exposed individuals and government officials. Yeah, from the Epstein files, during one of those encounters with Epstein, he took her to Mar-a-Lago where he introduced her to its owner, Donald J. Trump. Introducing the 14-year-old Doe to Donald J. Trump, Epstein elbowed Trump, playfully asking him, referring to Doe, this is a good one, right? Trump smiled and nodded in agreement. They both chuckled, and Doe felt uncomfortable, but at the time was too young to understand why. And the suspicion is maybe they didn't redact like all of the mentions of Donald J. Trump, but instead redacted the mentions of Donald Trump. But it's pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy that they were so heavy-handed and so incompetent that they f***ed it. They f***ed it up again, as I told you they would. And now they're overcorrecting and deleting with a heavy hand whatever mentions of Donald Trump even exist. Part of this is because obviously there is an overwhelming amount of data here, and it's very difficult to just, I guess, even with the months and months that they had. Thank you, Chatter. This is a beautiful drawing. I love it. At least you didn't make me look bald this time, so respect. Are they incompetent, or is there a Q leaving breadcrumbs? No, man, they're incompetent, okay? They're incompetent. Always never rely on the Democrats to actually do the right thing and fight back. Always expect the administration to be incompetent. Always. What is this? Is this photo real, not a joke? What? No, I don't think this is real. No, it's not. It's not. Don't be mean. MAGA cult is waiting for new instructions on how to defend child sex trafficking. But the thing is, like, people have seen these files. Ro Khanna's seen these files. I'm going to talk to him directly today in about half an hour. And Thomas Massie has seen it. One of the major things that Thomas Massie said yesterday that I thought was very important was, by the time Friday rolled around, if they did not have 20 to 25 co-conspirators, men that were outed as engaging in illicit acts alongside Jeffrey Epstein, that would imply that they actually redacted the names of all of those co-conspirators. And we do not have 20 to 25 names right now. You see, you feel me? And the only place where we know the same number 25, the only reason why we know that the 25 number, aside from Thomas Massie, was mentioned was in the Ghislaine Maxwell court deposition, or the court filings for Ghislaine Maxwell, where in the court filings that they did not redact, they say there were 25 co-conspirators. There were 25 co-conspirators who got separate deals. Okay? So obviously, very clearly these guys just went in with the heavy black ink pen and just took out every mention of Trump and Trump affiliates and maybe even like other super wealthy people. Okay? Every day that goes by as like the Alex Joneses of the world actively try to defend the Trump administration, and like the QAnon guys try to still hold on to a crumb of hope for Donald Trump being the pedophile destroyer, is another day where they are further vindicated in their initial suspicion that there is this like deep state elite pedophilic cabal taking place. And it's so funny that they literally ran on that. That was their galvanizing principle. That was what they organized around. The notion that there are like elites that are engaging in illicit sexual acts. And there is this deep state pedophilic conspiracy. And now that there is more evidence to suggest that maybe it's not a conspiracy theory, but it could be real, every single person that ran on that is turning around and going, no, but actually Donald Trump is not a part of the cover-up. It's not. He's not. Please don't say it. Please don't say Donald Trump is part of the cover-up. Don't. That's not the case. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. It's like you got everything you wanted. You're getting proof, more proof than ever before, more proof than just whatever dumbasses made up on 4chan about. Dumbasses made up on 4chan about how like elites are actually ordering child sex slaves, like they're ordering pizza by using code words. That wasn't the case. It turns out they were just straight up saying it. There are pieces of the court documents that came out where Jeffrey Epstein is mad that one of the people that was trafficking minors for him was actually trafficking people over the age of 18. He just straight up says, I need to see identification to make sure that this victim is under the age of 18. Like that's how flagrant it is. That's how open it is. There's no like cheese pizza, hot dog mentions or anything like that. They're just straight up being like young child now. It's crazy. Why couldn't it be both? I mean, the reason why it can't be both is because there's no evidence for one and there is a tremendous amount of evidence for the other. Okay? So as I said, as I called initially, that the Trump administration was going to try and dangle red meat in front of the base to try to get them to focus their attention on Bill Clinton, who is a known co-conspirator of Jeffrey Epstein. They did. They redacted everybody except for Bill Clinton, okay? They redacted Donald Trump from the files. They redacted other financial elite from the files. And the only person that they seemingly did not redact that was a politically relevant individual was Bill Clinton. Okay? Now, will this actually succeed? Read my logs. Basketball. What? Basketball stream tomorrow. Read my logs. Okay, take an hour off, chatter. I can't play basketball any longer. My ankle is up. The other thing that I also said was that they would absolutely fail to do this because they would somehow f it up, and they did. And the way that they f this up now invites even more scrutiny. It makes them look even more guilty. Okay? So that's where we're at. That is where we are currently at. The two different angles that are, the one angle that the media is covering is the fact that Donald Trump and his DOJ very clearly eliminated mentions of Donald Trump, including going back in after they released this, deleting this photo from the Epstein dossiers. Oversight Democrats called it out. Yesterday, we found out that one of the few mentions of Donald Trump, one of the few images of Donald Trump in the Epstein files was this photo. Today, the photo is gone. Why would you do that? You're so stupid. Why would you openly engage in this? Why would you delete mentions of Donald Trump after the fact, dumbass? You look even more guilty now. It's out in the open. That's so crazy. Here it is. This photo, file 468 from the Epstein files that includes Donald Trump, has apparently now been removed from the DOJ release. Attorney General Pam Bondi, is this true? What else is being covered up? We need transparency for the American public. It's so crazy that they did this. Like, it's so crazy they got called out. And instead of just like letting it sit there and be like, no, what are you talking about? See, of course we didn't redact Donald Trump. They chose to delete it, dude. Are you kidding me? Always assume the admin. This incompetent admin will find a way to things up. It's kind of them just saying, like, you law, we don't care. Yeah, except you can't entertain that. You can entertain that when you got, Reagan numbers, but you can't entertain that when you don't have Reagan numbers. When you have Trump 2 numbers, you can't be running around and being like, what are you going to do about it? Yeah, we're not giving our own base this information that they desire after running on delivering this information to our own base. You, there's no way. They're going to go crazy over it. They're going to lose their minds over it. This is going to piss off the normies, as I've already told you, okay? And I need you to understand something. This is Trump's least popular position with his own base of support. Republicans have never really deviated away from Donald Trump on any of the issues. Usually, it's 80% approval on virtually all of his policies, with the exception of this. On the Epstein files and the mishandling, Republicans have a 54% disapproval rating on Donald Trump's handling or mishandling of the Epstein files. 54%. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, it's just only a marginal majority of Republicans that don't like this. That's crazy. You need to understand that needs to be compared with the 80% approval for everything else. Donald Trump's been f***ing up everything else, okay? And yet Republicans seemingly are still on board with everything. They still show 80% approval, 80% approval, 80% approval, no matter what. Even Asmongold took Trump's dick out of his mouth on this one. Yeah, because he's seeing the tea leaves, okay? That's the other thing. Just like with Israel, Asmongold, who spent the last 2 years consistently complaining that I and many others needed to be deplatformed because we were anti-Semitic terrorists, has now turned around and is like defending Puka Nakua and saying like the primary responsible the primary party responsible for anti-Semitism growing in America is Israel. It's like, bitch, that's my take. You called me a anti-Semitic terrorist for that for 2 years. He went from demanding that every college campus protester get deported or fired or thrown in prison or something to saying, well, we really got to deal with this Israel shit. Yeah. Asmongold is backtracking his support for Trump and Israel as their approval nosedives. Despite a year of daily praise, Asmongold now claims he never trusted Trump. And he says protecting Israel is America first, despite prior calls for protests to be jailed. Protesting Israel is America first, despite prior calls for protests to be jailed and deported. And I love that this guy says 1 year from now. Actually, guys, oh, no, never mind. I thought there was a defense of Asmongold. There are people that I've seen defending Asmongold being like, well, he changed his mind. No, he didn't, you idiot. Last week, he was still saying, I'm the primary vector of anti-Semitism growing on this platform. My opinions didn't change. His did. One must ask the question, why? As a matter of fact, even when a shit ton of people in my community after October 7 were like, you, I don't want to hear from you. I can't believe you wouldn't immediately say like, these guys are, barbaric, super rapist monsters and have no emancipatory need here whatsoever. And how dare you say this is, Israel's responsibility after 75 years of apartheid and genocide and ethnic cleansing. Everyone that left this community realized perhaps I was right and they might have been wrong. Asmongold 100% spent the last 2 years going after every single person that called out Israel with maximum intensity. He aligned himself with Ethan Klein. He was one of the major advocates for deplatforming. And I kept calling it out. And I said, how is this free speech? How is this free speech? How is this free speech? And now that Donald Trump is losing his motion, losing his momentum, he is slowly going to back away. Okay? And I told you this already. I told you this from the start. His subreddit was partnering with the ADL. Partnering with the ADL to deplatform people like Morgan, deplatform people like myself, deplatform other pro-Palestinian content creators. And now he's over here talking about partnering up with Nick Fuentes, an actual anti-Semite. None of this matters to many in his audience either. They just want, they want to get W's. They want to get a victory on what they have perceived is a political opposition that's like ruining their lives, making the platform of Twitch more woke, right?
Isn't it time for Asmongold to stop sucking Trump's dick? I've been very critical of Trump regularly. If you
I told you when the winds turn, he's going to stop saying, yeah, based. Did I not?
you look at any of my commentary discussing things that he's done, you'll see that I'm extremely critical of him, even more so recently since the Epstein stuff. So this is just, it's again, just the typical Reddit, one-dimensional thinking, because, you know, you couldn't vote for Kamala Harris. If she was going to do something, she would have. So, yeah, you didn't even vote? Of course I didn't vote. Why would I vote if I don't feel like the candidate represents my viewpoints and my values to a degree that I feel confident voting for them? And I think that I've been proven right. I have been. I think I've been proven right with that. And I voted for this? Yeah. I mean, if I had known he was going to do this, I would have voted for him. I would have. Like, I 100%. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but if I did, I would say that I voted for this. This is better than watching. I've been waiting for this to happen ever since BLM. This is what I voted for? Well, I'll tell you guys, how many of you guys that voted for Trump, you're getting even, it's even better than what you would hope for. You know he wrote this. Yep, this is what I voted for. Yep. To Iran, support for the Houthi terrorists must end immediately. Beware, because America will hold you fully accountable and we won't be nice about it. Hell will rain down upon you like nothing you have ever seen before. What I voted for Trump to do was like what he did with the DEI stuff on day one. What I voted for him to do is what he did with, like, for example, Iran. You didn't vote? Yeah, exactly. But I would have voted. If I would have voted, that would have been what I voted for. Did Trump earn your vote by now? If I could go back.
Yeah, this doesn't even do the amount of glazing he did / justice. Yes. This is not even a fraction of the glazing. I mean, every day, yeah, based, yeah, based, yeah, based. Every time, every single time, dude, he went nutty mode. He was blowing bubbles on Trump's dick every day. Not only did he blow bubbles on Trump's dick, I mean, he openly stated it too. Aside from the Epstein stuff, Trump is doing exactly what he said he would do. Maybe there's too many crying Karens on social media, so they're afraid of the optics. But this seems so dishonest. It won't work either. The bridge is burned, and those people will always hate them. Okay? I voted for none of this. Prominent influencers, including Theo Von, Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz, are trying to distance themselves from the president. He thought there was more farming to be done on October 6, 2025. So he was still standing. But I promise you, The point is going to come. The day is going to come where he's like, oh, yeah, Trump is not great. Not great at all, actually. Not based. Guys, Trump was not based. Never liked him. Never liked him. Yeah. This is why I always say, like, it's unimaginably easy to grift to the right. They are so stoked to hear someone go, the president that we voted for is awesome. Okay? Apparently you got glazed by what? 40K Roaches for the first time ever heard you speak uninterrupted for an hour. Roach King glazed you to basically the entire chat, the entire time, and chat was agreeing. Yeah, I mean, we'll get back to business as usual tomorrow. Don't worry. The reality of the matter is, if they were to actually listen to me uninterrupted, they would probably recognize that there are a lot of issues that they totally have misunderstood my position on. The drama piggies could not stop talking about Asmund the entire time you were interviewing a sitting politician. Yeah, what do you want me to do? Talk about Asmongold when I'm having a conversation with Ro Khanna about how what his current positions are on a lot of these issues, especially when this is a fairly impactful moment in his political career as well, where the entire country is paying attention to what Ro and Thomas Massey are going to do next as far as like holding the administration to account with the release of the Epstein files. Come on now.
Photographs, some graphic and heavily redacted, but without
Anyway,
context
I'm gonna
about
pee
what
real quick
any of
and I'll be
this
back.
means. The big question: will the files reveal a list of powerful men who took part in Epstein's sexual abuse of teenage girls? The FBI insisted there is no list, and initially said there was no evidence that could lead them to charge anyone else with crimes. President Trump had a long friendship with Epstein, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles describing them as sort of young single playboys together. Trump says he and Epstein eventually had a falling out.
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert.
The White House Chief of Staff says Trump's name comes up in the files, but not doing anything awful. I sat down with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who was also the president's criminal defense attorney.
Will every document that mentions President Trump, every picture of him, every video, every bit of information related to him in these files be released today or at some point in this process?
Assuming it's consistent with the law, yes. So there's no effort to hold anything back because there's the name Donald J. Trump or anybody else's name, Bill Clinton's name, Reid Hoffman's name. There's no effort to hold back or not hold back because of that. And so, but again, we're not redacting the names of famous men and women that are associated with Epstein.
To be clear, you're saying DOJ has not been ordered to redact anything related to President Trump, that there's no order to do such?
No, I mean, I would give the order. President Trump has certainly said from the beginning that he expects all files that can be released to be released, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Trump has tried to turn the focus to Epstein's relationship with Democrats like former President Bill Clinton. Friday's release includes some never-before-seen images of Clinton and Epstein together. This picture of Clinton in a jacuzzi, and this one of him swimming with Epstein's accomplice, convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. But Clinton has not been accused of wrongdoing. In fact, the White House Chief of Staff told Vanity Fair there's no incriminating information about Clinton in the files, saying Trump was wrong about that. Clinton putting out a statement through a spokesperson overnight saying, in part, they can release as many grainy 20-plus-year-old photos as they want. This isn't about Bill Clinton, never has, never will be. Gio?
Fascinating stuff there, Pierre. And why is there a delay in releasing all of these documents?
The deputy AG told me the full release has been delayed because DOJ learned of additional victim names this week. He said protecting the identities of more than 1,200 victims and their families is painstaking work. Despite whatever criticism is out there, he says they are...
Sure. Yeah, it's just about protecting the identities of the victims, right? And the greatest victim of all, Donald Trump. You see, Donald Trump is the big victim here, right? That's the real victim in all of this, not the 1,200 women who may have been sex trafficked as minors, not the massage therapists, not the people, just Donald Trump, little old Donald Trump, and also the other financial elite that were involved in these crimes. Those are the real victims. Tim Dillon shouted you out in his latest podcast. I don't know why he won't he could just text me. He has my phone number and I have his. I heard some people were saying he wants to come on or something. Apparently at least 16 files were removed without explanation. Yeah, also none of the redactions also have an explanation either, which is why it's so crazy, because the redactions, every single individual redaction has some intention behind it. Okay? And what's interesting about this is that there is only a blanket assessment on why all the redactions took place, except that is against the way that the act was written. Because Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie and everyone else that played a role in putting this bill together knew exactly how the Trump administration would try to get away with this, right? So they very clearly wrote out in the letter of the law that every single redaction must be accompanied by what the actual reason for the redaction is. Internal Department of Justice communications, including emails, memos, meeting notes concerning decisions to charge, not charge, investigative or to decline to investigate Epstein or his associations. All communications, memoranda, directives, logs, or metadata concerning the destruction, deletion, alteration, misplacement, or concealment of documents, recordings, or electronic data related to Epstein, his associates, his detention, his death, any investigative files. They were also supposed to direct the DOJ to provide internal communications regarding their decisions versus the DOJ letter to Congress asserting privilege to omit materials related to decisions because they weren't specified by law. So they are in violation of that. What? No, Tim Dillon was making a joke about how the Republican Party is cooked, and he said something along the lines of, that's it, go give money to Hassan Piker. He also says similar things about Mamdani. The felon administration doesn't follow the law. Yeah, it's a remarkable surprise to me and everyone else, I think, because I really thought that the 35 count, I really thought the felon administration, who is, who is led by the personal bestie of Jeffrey Epstein, would actually be the truth tellers here, and they would actually crack open this case wide open, and lo and behold, shocking, but they're not. They're not doing that.
Complying with the law, and that the work will get done. Janae?
Very interesting that you said DOJ just learned the names of additional victims this week, Pierre. Thank you for your reporting.
President Trump did not address Friday's long-awaited release of files related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The Justice Department began releasing thousands of records.
What does this call Hassan Piker?
Like when I first did an investigation.
And he has red, white, and blue socks on. Call Hassan Piker. Go just donate us. Just give Hassan Piker a super chat right now.
What?
Call that retarded Withers, whatever his name is, those twinks from Colorado that live in a mountain that keep screaming. Okay, maybe we won't go that far, but I'm just saying this. It's just absurd. Anyway, get them out of here. I can't even listen. Can't even listen to them. Let me tell you something. And
what the? He's saying the administration is so cooked this time. It's time for woke to rise up again, baby. Let's go. The Colorado twinks, Dean Withers. And then he said, no, I wouldn't go that far. Oh, that was Tim Dillon complaining about the administration flubbing yet another instance, flubbing yet another investigation.
Following the
But he's right. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers. For you, the viewers. The fact that he knows you. What do you mean? Tim Dillon has been giving me shout outs for years, constantly complaining about how much I was getting canceled, how he never got canceled and it was annoying him. The f do you mean? Woke 2, baby. Woke 2.0 is here. Okay. I'm telling you, a lot of shifts are going to happen. They're already happening. Shifts are happening all around us. Okay. And I called it and I told you. And obviously, I told you that it wasn't going to happen without people pushing for it. And here you are pushing for it. Obviously, we're not going to step on the same landmines that maybe Woke 1.0 stepped on, because there was some growing pains. You know what I mean? 50 bones from Legal Heretic, by the way. Thank you. Thank you so much. Are you declaring woke? I mean, woke Sharia has been my rallying cry for the longest time. Woke jihad, woke Sharia. This is what I've been about because the unlimited, unrestrained, endless reactionary posture is so repulsive to the average person, brother, because these guys are rudderless. All they care about is like dominating libtards or whatever, or being able to say slurs. And the reality of the matter is that gets really boring after a while. That gets really gross after a while. And we're there. People are already going, ugh, dude, you're like a 50-year-old man. Why the hell are you still talking about how you're able to say slurs or whatever? There is, genocide happening around the world. There is the Trump administration is bombing Venezuela, entertaining the notion of doing an Iraq 2.0 in Venezuela this time. Prices have not gone down. People can't afford shit. And data centers are popping up all around the country. And it's making electricity bills skyrocket. And you're over here talking about like being able to say slurs and how we're going to be really dunking on the libtards now. I promise now. Hassan, I laughed so hard when Ro Khanna called the chat smart and complimented people's chatters, and you had to nod along even though you call us dumbasses all day. I mean, I did get my get back there because I said y'all are nerds, which is true. And of course, you're smarter than the average person that's tuning into politics. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on now. But if I didn't bring you back down to reality every now and then without constantly yelling at you, you would be ridiculous. You'd be a ridiculous person. And many of you are still a ridiculous person. I did also get Ro Khanna to accidentally say Ghislaine Maxwell.
Passage last month of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a measure the president opposed for months before signing it into law. But as CBS News Justice correspondent Scott McFarland reports, the document dump was far from complete.
Photos this morning of many of the powerful who ran in convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's circle. Bill Clinton seems swimming in a pool with Ghislaine Maxwell and another woman with her face redacted. Clinton with another unknown woman on his lap. Celebrities, too, including Michael Jackson and Diana Ross, Epstein with Mick Jagger, and Chris Tucker with Maxwell. Many of the records are heavily redacted, survivors say suspiciously so, including Epstein grand jury records. We do see Epstein's book of contacts with the name of President Trump, his late wife, and his daughter, Ivanka. A list of girls or young women listed as masseuses keeps the names private, but shows there were more than 250.
How confident are you at the end of the day, at the end of this period, you'll get everything?
I don't feel tremendously confident that everything will come out.
Survivors, including Annie Farmer, have been fighting for years for the release of records and say they're frustrated these records are incomplete.
There's been a lot of effort and money and time put into redactions, not to protect victims, but to protect people in power.
Many of the records released have long been public already, including videos in the jail the night Epstein died, which had been...
Yeah, that came out in 2020. We know what that unredacted contact list looks like anyway, so that's not even new. There is some new stuff here. There was definitely new rare Clintons, okay? There was a couple shiny Pokemon card-ass Clinton photos in there. That is definitely real. And I think that was deliberate. Outside of Bill Clinton, no other politically relevant individual, with the exception of like the rare Ehud Barak, was actually shown in these investigations at all. I wonder why. And for the record, before someone even ever dares to accuse me of defending Bubba here, lock his ass up, put him in jail. I've been an advocate to throw Bill Clinton in jail for many, many years, okay? Put Hillary in there too. Good. I don't give a shit. Make my day. Go ahead. Make my day. I despise both of these individuals. I hate their politics. I hate the impact that they've had on American politics, and also I hate the potential crimes that they were engaging in. Okay? Investigate them, lock them up. I don't give a shit. But, put Donald Trump in there too. Fair is fair.
Obtained months ago by CBS News. The Department of Justice sent Congress a letter Friday night defending what they released, saying they were being transparent but also protecting victims. But the bipartisan group that pushed through this law is not satisfied.
Was just watching Asmongold watching you and reacting to the interview, and he's very supportive overall and agree with everything except we shouldn't be ruthlessly deporting migrants. He's definitely feeling the tide shift. Yeah, he'll feel the migrant deportation tide shift too. It's an inevitability. It's just that the media hasn't been like really covering that approach, even though the overall public sentiment has shifted there as well. Asmongold needs to feel a shower head. Oh, it's true. Yeah, Asmongold is Asmon woke now.
They're calling for hearings and potential legal challenges to force the department to release more. For CBS Saturday Morning, Scott McFarlane, Washington.
They have been released then, after so long, the Epstein files, or some of them at least. This was Epstein's world, through files held for so long by the Justice Department, now unsealed, or at least the first batch of them. Thousands of documents, about 4,000 in this.
Stop shitting on him. He's changing. I really think he's coming around. Oh my God. Brother, we are never going to have progress. I swear to God. I'm sorry. People are so stupid. People are so stupid, dude. This man spent the last 2 years every single day complaining about how I was a terrorist, an anti-Semitic terrorist who needs to be deplatformed, who was putting the entire Twitch platform in the crosshairs of who? Of Asmongold, ironically enough. Asmongold-backed outrage manufacturing. You think overnight he changed? Really? He's got a kind heart all of a sudden? Okay, we'll see the switch up. If he starts admitting that he was wrong about me, if he starts admitting that he was wrong about all the things that he was advocating for, you know, I'll potentially entertain it. Okay? I just don't think that is a sincere change. I think he's just basically seeing the attitude shift, and he is trying to manage his own community. Okay? This is a political actor who has spent most of his political output attacking me ruthlessly in an effort to present me as an unserious or dangerous individual, okay? And many in his audience actually agreed with him, using Islamophobic sentiment, a person who has fomented so much hatred, not just against me, but just against entire marginalized communities. And he was always very open about it too. He's like, yeah, I'm doing whatever I can to get by. I'm doing whatever I can to I'm doing whatever I can to generate as much clout. It's not like he was shy about it. Yeah, he has openly talked about how he's doing this to benefit himself. And that's precisely the reason why I always said he doesn't have like a lot of firmly held convictions on any of the political issues that he's talking about. And that's precisely the reason why he can present his new attitude shift as a sincere change of heart, while simultaneously saying that like people like myself are grifters or audience captured, even though I spent every waking hour yelling at my own audience for being insane. Or even you can literally look at the past 12 years of my commentary where you haven't seen my opinions change. As a matter of fact, the reason why this Ro Khanna thing was so entertaining, at least for me and many in my community, is partially because every single thing that I said to Ro Khanna at the DNC has unfolded in the exact same ways that I said it would unfold. And Ro Khanna is now on my side. Like, he moved in my direction, bar for bar. Go back and literally rewatch that interview at the DNC with me and Ro Khanna, and then match it up against Ro Khanna's positions now, and you will understand. Okay?
First release. So our team has gone through them, and I'm going to split this up into several strands. The celebrities, the victims, the redactions. The celebrities first. We know that Jeffrey Epstein socialized widely. His network spanned the arts, business, politics, royalty, high society. And so association with him does not equate to wrongdoing. There are images of him with Michael Jackson. He's also photographed with Diana Ross and former President Bill Clinton. He features a lot in this dump of images. His association with Epstein is well known, and he is on record expressing his regret at having ever known him. Clinton is photographed in the files with Kevin Spacey too. There's an image of Mick Jagger with Ghislaine Maxwell. None of these photos have any context to them. We don't know.
Like, you understand that he's not actually on your side though, right? Because he's an establishment dem. Him echoing your rhetoric rather lukewarmly doesn't mean much. you're delusional if you think that that is the case. Not to say that he's not like a Democrat, but there is obviously a left flank within the Democratic Party right now that is sincerely advocating for certain policies that I would love to see implemented because I know it will generally improve people's material conditions. Medicare for all being one of them. And no, I don't think he was lukewarm in a lot of this stuff. But this is precisely what I was explaining earlier. This is how change happens, okay? It doesn't happen overnight. That's my whole point. Do you not understand? By the way, this is yet another instance of me yelling at people who are, or criticizing people who are to the left, ostensibly to my left flank, for not understanding that, like, there are things that you need to do to establish coalitions and get people on board with your message. And this is perhaps the worst possible time to say this, because a big part of the reason why we're seeing even the fraction of the files that we've seen so far from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation is because of Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. Okay? And yeah, I don't think these are guys to my left flank necessarily. I think they're just like they're just kind of oblivious to how change happens. It's going to continue, for the record. Guess who's trying to roast you through your recent comments to his videos? Asman? I don't care. Okay? He's going to continue doing that until more and more people from his audience peel away, and actually more and more people from his audience peel away and move on to different people or to different politics, because there's only so much anti-woke sentiment you can lean into until people realize, like, okay, my financial situation hasn't changed. Like, okay, we're fighting the trans people. We're fighting the wokes. We're fighting all the wokes, but like my rent is still going up. My job prospects are in the shitter. Okay? There's only so much you can propagandize to a population that is feeling the pain. Okay? That's it. And when that happens, more and more people will peel away. Maybe some of them will come here. The ones who weren't like so negatively propagandized against, right? But ultimately, it doesn't even matter if they don't come here. As long as they become loyal soldiers of progress in this country, I'm happy to have them on board. They can follow along.
Who took them or when they were taken. But remember, they are all part of the Epstein estate, seized over the years and sealed until now. Here's a picture of Sarah Ferguson, ex-wife, of course, of Andrew, formerly Prince Andrew, and he features too. This is an image of the former prince lying across several women. The only other person identified in this document is Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, we've cross-referenced this photo with other photos, and it was taken at the late Queen's Home, Sandringham, in the UK. Of course, Andrew was friends with Epstein and Maxwell. He settled financially out of court with Virginia Giuffre, who had accused him of sexual assault. He's always denied any wrongdoing. Let's focus now on the victims of Epstein and Maxwell's abuse and how their story can be told through these files.
Yeah,
here's an image
Prince
of
is
two
crazy.
young women, perhaps girls, we can't be sure, in Paris. Their identity has been hidden. The Department of Justice says it redacted more than 1,200 names or images of victims and their relatives. We know from existing testimony from victims like Virginia Giuffre that Epstein took girls he recruited on trips, including to Paris. They were often recruited with the promise that they would become masseuses, and this image here nods to that. But within these files, there are new court documents detailing how Epstein and Maxwell recruited their victims. Some of the documents are already in the public domain. This is evidence that formed part of the case of a victim identified only as Jane Doe 3. Message pads to convey missed messages for Epstein. They span 2004 and 2005. Two of them read, "I have a female for him." But there are redactions, so we don't know who left the messages or who wrote them down.
Yeah, like, is that a victim? Because Jeffrey Epstein did oftentimes utilize victims as well to bring in new people, bring in new girls. Or was that a pimp, an adult, not a victim at all, who was tasked with finding new victims for Jeffrey Epstein. This is the type of shit that is very frustrating. Okay? And it's so insincere. The way that these guys straight up made it seem as though they were redacting exclusively the victims to protect their identity while simultaneously protecting actual pedophiles is insane, dude. It's incredible. And what blows my mind about it is that there are some people who are, doing this now, okay, in the MAGA contingency. I think it's safe to say the Epstein files kind of backfired on the Democrats. Yeah, totally, man. Totally. This is about Democrats versus Republicans, right? No, man, this is about everybody versus pedophiles, okay? You have a literal pedophile protecting president who is besties with the pedophile that we're talking about, whose Department of Justice spent most of the time in between now and 30 days ago trying to actively delete his image from all of the files. And they unironically left some of it on accident and then only went back and deleted it after the fact when people were like, oh, there's Donald Trump right there. It's so out in the open. You have to be a real lobotomy recipient to not see what's going on here. Like, what the are you kidding me? Get out of here. 90% redacted.
Then there's this. It appears to be a sort of scrapbook, storybook, similar to the birthday book, which was released a few months ago. It's heavily redacted, and it's very disturbing, to be honest. At the top here, once upon a time, there was a clueless little girl, it reads. Have a look at this too. It's an incident report from the Palm Beach Police Department. The common location for all the incidents detailed is 358.
At least 16 files from the Epstein release disappear from the DOJ webpage, including a photo of Trump with no explanation. I think we know the explanation. That's crazy, man. That's actually crazy. They're just so, what did I tell you? What did I tell you? You can't rely on the Democrats, but you can always bank on this administration things up, okay? What did I tell you? I told you these are so goddamn incompetent. I told you. You can always bank on it, okay? No Kelshi, no Poly Market, but you can always put the house on this admin finding a way to this up. They are so goddamn incompetent. They're immoral, they're loyalists to Trump, but they're so incompetent that they're always going to it up. At least 16 files have disappeared from the Justice Department's public webpage for documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, including a photograph showing Trump less than a day after they were posted with no explanation from the government and no notice to the public. I'm sure people will map out exactly which ones those documents were, by the way, and it'll show you even more. It'll give you even more insight into how the DOJ is moving here, what their ambition is here, what they're trying to hide. I mean, one of the most obvious things that they were trying to do with the redactions was redacting Donald Trump in its entirety from the Epstein files. And they did such a stupid job at it. Like, the smart thing to do here would have been to at least leave some clear new Trump photos, at least to not invite so much suspicion that they were just eradicating Trump. Control F Trump and just delete everything. Okay? The worst possible thing they could have done is delete a photo of Trump that they failed to redact last time. That is crazy. It's so obvious what you're doing. It's the cover-up is now a part of the crime. What the did you think was going to happen? Yeah, also, this is why the law said downloadable and searchable. They didn't do it. Now they delete shit. Yep. Is this criminal? Yes, except, as I've said over and over again, criminality is not necessarily about following the letter of the law, but more so about whether or not there's a regulatory body that will hold you to account. And obviously, the insane asylum is being run by the nutters. Okay, so they're not going to investigate themselves. They're the ones that are doing the crime. The investigators and the people who are supposed to prosecute against such crimes are the ones doing the crimes. They also redacted a face on a Clinton plus MJ image that wasn't previously redacted. They redacted MJ's kids' faces. Yeah. Oh my God. I think this is going to move people. I do think so. Because this is Trump's weakest. This is Trump's the weakest thing, right? This is the thing that people hate about Trump. Even Trump's own fans do not like the way he has mishandled the Epstein stuff, the way he has actively tried to shelter the public from the Epstein investigation, and the way he's conducted himself. The way he's conducted himself in the process. Here are the list of files that were removed. They failed to delete the indexes. Okay, well, I don't know. Can you guys find it? The normies already hate it. Critical put a video out. Of course, of course. Who other than Megyn Kelly is going to take the opposite pivot here and try to normalize pedophilia? That is insane. Okay? Most people are at least of sound mind enough to recognize that they shouldn't be running around saying that they're pro-pedophilia. Stop, not the normie whisperer. Of course the normie whisperer is going to come out with an anti-Epstein video. Are you kidding me? It's the most normal position you can have. My dad finally flipped off Trump today because of all this. Hell yeah. Take it where you can get it. Take the W's where you can get it. Don't be like insincere about genuine attitude shifts. It's obviously not the same if we're talking about like a conservative commentary person, right? Obviously, people who are engaging in the propaganda at the behest of this administration are totally in a separate category here. Members of the media are in a separate category here. They need to be met with more scrutiny. Okay. However, if you're talking about your parents or any number of different people in your immediate family, your coworkers, stuff like that, them changing their attitude on this is good. Okay, that's a good thing. Just don't immediately don't dunk on them is what I'm saying. Okay, don't just like try to shit on them. It's good. Claims there were serious ethical breaches by the prosecutors. Talks about how seriously apparently Epstein's attorney Ken Starr, takes the Bible and the law, a man of great faith, appears to refer to Assistant U.S. Attorney Mary Willafana, doesn't want to create a written record, refers to Alan Dershowitz and Ken working, Washington to drop the Fed charges, appears to address U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta. So this was one of the suspicious. It's impossible to read this shit, unfortunately, but this was a letter. This was a typed out letter that apparently was addressed to U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta. Okay. Some of the text under the redacted bars is copy pastable, by the way. Haven't seen anyone cover that. Several full victim names in SSN. Not bullshitting. They f***ed up. Wait, really? No. Okay. What they deleted. I used the command line tools to compare Epstein tranche, dataset 1-zip, downloaded approximately 8 p.m. yesterday. For the same tranche, downloaded approximately 5 p.m. today. It revealed the files that have been deleted, and it's apparently, hold on, I'm gonna do a cursory glance at what the files were that were deleted, so I can to make sure that there isn't anything like crazy in there. Some of these are potentially, well, some of these are censored for nudity. Some of these might be censored for, wait, what the f-? Why did they censor this? This is the massage chair thing. The massage chair and the Epstein, one of the Epstein Manors. Oh, then this is the obvious one that we talked about already, the Trump image that was deleted. And then this one, I don't know why they deleted this. There's also like baby oil everywhere, dude. What the f is up with these guys in baby oil? Actually, one of the things that I've also found very strange about this whole process is like when you get this deeper insight into the living conditions of Jeffrey Epstein, or even like the quarters of someone like this, you get to understand them from afar, albeit in a more personal way. That's Astroglide. That's for, okay, that's insane. Like he had Astroglide on his desk next to a goddamn landline phone. Like, that's crazy. But the one thing that I always found so interesting about the way he chose to live, his New York mansion was more lived in as opposed to the island. The island was not inviting at all. Then the New York mansion was not inviting either. But the island itself looked so crazy. Like, for someone as wealthy as Jeffrey Epstein, it always is remarkable that the island was so bare bones. You know, it was so, like, the furniture was so, even this right here, like, this is so cheap, you know? It was so like the New York mansion is more lived in, but it's more tacky. The island, on the other hand, was so focused on almost this like performance, right? Like it looked very thrown together with like the cheapest things that you could possibly put together. I like, there were beds without bed frames. You know what I mean? It's like very odd. There is definitely a marked difference between, like, a noticeable difference between the New York mansion, where he spent most of his time living, versus Little St. James Island. But when you looked at like the Little St. James Island and the inside of the Little St. James Island rooms, I know the word you're searching for, but I'm not telling you what it is. Okay, tell me what the word I'm searching for. Say it. It's almost austere. The Little St. James Island, like, it's very cheap and hastily put together and not lived in, right? There is no like New York is gaudy. Little St. James is just very like, Little St. James was designed like it was put together at the last second with like the cheapest furniture you could probably put together. Yeah, it would look like the back rooms almost, like, very purpose specific, very purpose built. Both are unsettling in different ways. Austere, yes. Sterile, austere, very liminal. Anyway, this is this is from the massage room in the New York Manor, though. You can tell like when something is from the New York Manor as opposed to photos from the island too, because of like even the furniture that they're using and the artwork that's presented. I wonder why they deleted this one. Mostly just this photo. I wonder if it's this image that was the reason why they deleted it. Well, speculating on the psychology of how Epstein operated, this is classic narcissistic performance behavior. Creating a narrative is how these people almost lack any actual chairs. Interesting, however. Yeah, no, everything is a performance, obviously. Every aspect of this, every aspect of design actually feeds into a psychological profile, because like these decisions they're making, whether it's hastily put together or not, is still offering insight into the mind of Jeffrey Epstein or the people that he hired. But even the decision that he made to hire the people that he hired to do the interior decoration is still going to give you some insight. And the artwork, I think, is a very great example of this. If you notice, like, a lot of the artwork is like creepy. A lot of the artwork is mostly women. A lot of the artwork that he posts all around his house is just like scary almost. Like, and then beyond that, the photos of actual people is always Jeffrey Epstein himself with very famous people. So it's very clear that he was like using other notable individuals as a jump off point to present himself as like someone in the know, someone in like these circles. Because he's not homies with the Pope. Why does he have a photo with the Pope? He's not homies with MBS like that. Why does he have a photo with MBS? Normal circumstances, you put people, you put your loved ones in frames and you display them. But for him, it was always a display of power, right? And it wasn't even just a display of power that he wanted to showcase to other people. Okay, it was a display of power that he wanted to reassert for himself. Like, he wanted to reinforce that as well. Because if you notice, like, especially in the photo that we saw earlier that was deleted, where is it? This one in the desk drawer. A lot of the photos, if you look at Jeffrey Epstein's, like some of the photos of Jeffrey Epstein with like notable people, is unironically forward facing. It's outward facing. It's to show other people, like, these are the people that I'm around. But then there are some that are also facing him. So he's making the deliberate decision to look back at those photos and remind himself or reinforce this notion that this is who he is. This is who he's around. This is the extensive power that he had. It's a very, very strange thing to do. Anyway, what are your thoughts on Fidel Castro being photographed with Jeffrey Epstein? He don't got internet. What do you mean? He don't got internet, man. I think that's a little bit different than like Noam Chomsky, who like extensively had relations with Jeffrey Epstein, far beyond what we initially suspected. He was too weird to have a family, so the only attempt he made was asking Ghislaine to have him get one of his victims pregnant to assumingly abuse. So Epstein was a strange guy? Is that what you're saying? Pretty far-fetched if I say so myself. Yes, that is the argument I'm making. I'm saying that Jeffrey Epstein was a strange man. Very quirky guy, not to use such heated language, but I kind of feel like he wasn't a very good guy, okay? Kind of feel like he was a strange man with quirks and maybe wasn't the best guy around. Hard to make this judgment here, but a bit quirked up. A lot of oddities. So, unlike the numerous photos that came out of Jeffrey Epstein with Noam Chomsky that makes Noam Chomsky look bad, the one photo that he has with Fidel Castro doesn't actually make Fidel Castro look bad. It probably lends more further evidence to the theory that he might have been an intelligence asset. The excessive photos could be trophies, which aren't uncommon in the realm of criminology. Killers and pedophiles often will keep tokens of those they had power over. No, I think this was also the showcase to other people, like what level of power he had. He wanted to display it to others as well. But, yeah, still insane that he just, what is this now? Why the would the Epstein files be fun? This is getting too dark. This is not fun. Yeah, a lot of these guys, I think, are showing exactly what their opinion is on a lot of the stuff, like Autism Capital and all these other right-wing dipshits. They're like, oh, this is not fun. I'm not having fun anymore, Mr. Stark. Is like, why would the international sex trafficking conspiracy be a fun thing, a fun event? Very odd takes. I've seen a bunch of the people, have takes like that. I've seen a bunch of the people who approach this from a totally partisan perspective to make it seem like this is a complete vindication for Donald Trump. It's very stupid.
El Brio Way. That's Epstein's home. It names Epstein as one of 3 people arrested. The names of the other 2 have been redacted, and it's not clear why that decision was made. Over many pages, it then details the testimony of numerous victims, many of them labelled as juveniles. This file contains a number of redacted images of females. We can't say why the redactions have taken place. The rationale for the redactions is not clear in all circumstances with these documents, and that is a really big issue because there are so many black lines. Have a look at this document, grand jury testimony, and the whole thing, 119 pages, all of it is black. Now, some redactions are to protect victims, but are they all? With every black line, someone will cry cover up, and the conspiracy rumbles on. There are inconsistencies too. Here is a redaction, but then here, video of the same moment, and the hidden person is revealed to be academic Steven Pinker, who says he once travelled on Epstein's plane and had no relationship with him. Quite remarkably, there is a disclaimer at the top of the Department of Justice website saying that they might inadvertently have failed in places to redact information, and that hardly conveys a confidence of a job well done. There is no new mention of President Trump in this fresh batch of documents. The president, remember, says he disassociated himself from in the early 2000s. The Department of Justice has said that it will release thousands more documents in the weeks ahead.
Bullshit, he was part of the anti-feminist science professor team pushed. I mean, yeah, a lot of the, was this grand jury info public before? I doubt that they, no, this is from 2018. I don't know, But I suspect that this came out yesterday, right? There's no way that the United States Grand Jury, Southern District of New York, it came out yesterday. There's new files today. Some of it is new. Wait, try highlighting and copying the black text. No, you can't. It's not. Yes, it's in the directory dataset 206 if you look at the URL. Wait, was this blacked out yesterday, but it's not? New York released, NY released it, Trump redacted illegally? Yep, second round of docs got released a couple of hours ago. I don't recall this. Wait, search Trump? I mean, this is the newer one. This is the newer grand jury. This is the newer grand jury indictment from Southern District of New York. I don't think Trump would be mentioned that much in this, even though he was president at the time. Yes, I did see that they missed covering Trump in one of the photos, and then they deleted that photo haphazardly earlier today. The first release yesterday was up to dataset 204. They released more later. Okay, so everything that came after 204 is new. So this is the new stuff. They released datasets 5, 6, and 7 today. Why are they drip feeding the documents? They're drip feeding the documents because they're just going through. They're going through every single thing to like use the fucking highlighter pen as heavy-handedly as possible. Good afternoon, Special Agent Bleep. Good afternoon. Could you please spell your full name? Special Agent. Where do you currently work? The FBI. Special Agent. How long have you worked as a Special Agent? For over 2 years. Where are you currently assigned? The Violent Crimes Against Children Squad. Agent works in child exploitation and human trafficking matters. We also work international and parental kidnappings. Have you participated in an investigation of Jeffrey and his associates? He says yes. Have you spoken with other people, including other law enforcement officers? Yes. Have you reviewed reports and documents? Yes. Testimony. Miss Bleep. So, ladies and gentlemen, some of the testimony you're going to hear today will include hearsay. As you know, that means the witness will not be testifying solely from her own observations, but that she'll also be reporting on others. Special Agent, I'm placing in front of you what's been marked as Grand Jury Exhibit 1. Do you recognize that? It's a presentation that was prepared to assist in testifying today. During the course of your investigation, have you learned where Epstein maintains residences? Yes. Where does he have residences? He has a residence here in Manhattan, along with Palm Beach, Virgin Islands, and New Mexico. New Mexico one is called the Zorro Ranch, by the way. Does he maintain an address in Manhattan located at 9 East 71st Street? Yes. If we could turn to slide 2, does that fairly and accurately depict the residence? Could you please describe that property for the grand jury? It's a multi-story residence. It's reportedly the largest residence in Manhattan. It's right near Central Park. Does he also maintain an address in Palm Beach, Florida, located at 358 El Brillo Way? Yes. It's a villa in Palm Beach, right on the water, has an in-ground pool along with a guest residence or apartment connected to it. Asking about the witnesses. Did she tell you approximately how old she was when both of these photographs? Okay, well, witnesses you've interviewed during your investigation. During the course of this investigation, have you participated in interviews with an individual named Redacted? Agent says yes. For today's purpose, I'm just going to refer to her as Redacted. About how many times have you interviewed her? We've spoken to her approximately 5 times. Turn to the next slide. Are these photographs of Redacted? Yes. Did she tell you approximately how old she was when both of these photographs were taken? Yes. What did she tell you? The photo on the left, she was approximately 13 years old. And the photo on the right, she would have been 17 years old. What is Redacted's date of birth? And these are identifiable factors about the victims. So obviously they're, redacting those. That's valid. In addition to your participation in interviews, have you also reviewed reports from other law enforcement officers who interviewed Redacted? Is your testimony today based on both of your review of those reports and also your personal participation in reviews with Jane Doe? Can you speak up a little bit about a little bit more? Thanks. Okay, so based on your participation in this investigation, have you learned where Jane Doe was living when she was about 14 years old? Yes. Where she was living? She was living in Redacted. Was she living with her parents? No, not at the time. She had a difficult home life, which is consistent with other pedophiles as well, of course. Pedophiles who specifically choose their victims of a bad home life, victims who are vulnerable in an effort to more easily predate on them. You know, they target victims of broken families, people on the verge of homelessness, kids on the verge of homelessness, things of that nature. Was she going to school? She had started and dropped out. About when did she drop out of school? The beginning of her freshman year, a few months into her freshman year approximately. And at about this time, how was she supporting herself financially? She worked different jobs. She worked in catering halls as a waitress in restaurants and in clubs. Did there come a time when Redacted learned about Jeffrey? How did that first happen? She met a girl named Redacted who told her that she could make money if she massaged this rich guy. And when she heard from Redacted, how did she respond? She wanted to make money, so she agreed. What did she agree to? She agreed to go to his residence and massage him. Did Redacted recall how old she was when she first went to his residence? She says she was approximately 14. And just to confirm, the date of birth listed on the slide is that Redacted date of birth. So you testified that she ultimately went to his residence, the one in Manhattan. How about how many times did she go to his residence? Multiple times, dozens. During the time she went to his residence in Manhattan, did she tell you about how what typically would happen? Yes. What are some of the things that she told you about what happened there? So the first time when she went with Redacted, she entered the residence. They waited in the office until they were escorted upstairs to the massage room. Once in the massage room, Jeffrey came into the room. He lay down on the table. And once he was on the table, a girl massaged each side. And then Redacted would be asked to leave the room. The other Redacted person would stay. From there, once he turned over, he wanted his nipples pinched while he masturbated. Things progressed each additional time she went. This is, for the record, exactly what he did a million times over. Like this is again, the same pattern with the ways in which he constantly pushed the boundaries were, to 1,200 plus victims, right? As far as we know. The ones that we know of. They were underage. Some of them were not minors, but many of them were also underage at the time. And he would slowly but surely just make them do more and more and more. Remember, this is a consistent pattern of abuse, a consistent pattern of pedophilic abuse. Some of this investigation comes from the previous one, for the record. This is being relitigated in 2018, but what's being relitigated in 2018 was actually information that they had in the previous investigation, the one that he got a sweetheart plea bargain deal on that was unheard of, okay? As Rokana said, 60 charges were brought up, and he was only charged with 2. He was convicted with 2 out of 60 charges. Because this incident is from 2002, which was, of course, part of the criminal investigation that ended in 2008 with a conviction. So, Acosta knew these things. He read through these investigations and then allowed him to roam free to continue abusing people. And not just Acosta, but like Alan Dershowitz was obviously Jeffrey's lawyer. He negotiated that plea deal very effectively. So Trump is mentioned here having sex with underage girls. No, you mean you're talking about the 14-year-old, right? He wasn't mentioned as having sex with the. Send me the link. That's not a. Oh, this is the Ghislaine Maxwell one. This is where Trump was mentioned multiple times. Yeah. This is, I think this is a deposition, right? Filed under seal. This firm represents intervener Professor Alan Dershowitz, and we write in anticipation of the party's forthcoming motion practice concerning the confidentiality of Sarah Ransom deposition. Intervener requests that if the court allows plaintiff Virginia Giuffre to remove the confidentiality designation concerning the Ransom deposition, an action that will require modification of the protective order in this case, it also simultaneously remove the confidentiality designation from several related emails. The emails will demonstrate that Ms. Ransom's inflammatory, salacious, and defamatory testimony regarding the intervener and others is false and that the deponent is not credible. Absent this relief, Ms. Ransom's unrebuted testimony will gravely prejudice intervener by publishing deliberate lies calculated to harm his reputation. Counsel for Ms. Giuffre has not indicated whether she consents to removing the confidentiality designation from the emails, and counsel has indicated that Ms. Giuffre is not sure whether she will seek to remove the confidentiality designation from Ransom's deposition, notwithstanding her prior letter requesting that relief privately. Nevertheless, we write in an abundance of caution and to avoid the risk of decontextualized and one-sided disclosure. This was the testimony I will make sure that neither that evil bitch Hillary or that pedophile Trump gets elected. I will also make sure that everyone on the goddamn planet sees that footage and photos, and we'll release them to WikiLeaks by Sunday. I will take down his bunch of fuck with cronies myself. I have also gone to the Russian newspaper. This is one of the this was one of the victims, Miss Ransom, and these are her statements and emails. And the reason why they're using these statements is to say she was not a credible witness, and that her testimony should be sealed. Yeah, the first mention of Trump is here. Her testimony was fabricated from whole cloth. Ms. Ransom's testimony also contains a slew of other incendiary claims concerning the sexual proclivities of Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, and other prominent individuals. Clinton and Trump must pay for what they did to us, as must the rest of the men that were involved in their seedy inner circle. Another friend was one of the many girls that had sexual relations with Donald Trump. She confided in me about her casual friendship with Donald. Mr. Trump definitely seemed to have a thing for her, and she told me how he kept going on about how he liked her pert nipples. Donald Trump liked flicking and sucking her nipples until they were raw. One evening, when we were showering together, she showed me her nipples. They looked incredibly painful as they were red, swollen, and I remember wincing when I looked at them. I also know she has sexual relations with Trump at Jeffrey's New York mansion on regular occasions, as I once met Jen for coffee, just before she was going to meet Trump and together at his mansion. I've already corresponded with the Moscow police and aid them in stopping Hillary or Trump getting through. I will film my own interview with the subject and post it on every single. Yeah, these are emails from Sarah Ransom to Maureen Callahan. But given that this was like, I think the reason why they don't mind showing this stuff is because it was like struck from the record, I guess. So they're like, they were saying that she was not a credible witness. I'm not entirely sure about what happened with Sarah Ransom, so I don't know. This shit is wild. They try to cover it up, but then do this anyway. Film director Brett Ratner, who was accused by several women of harassment during Me Too. Brett Ratner. Women. And more recent was picked by Melania Trump to it was Brett Ratner that did was trying to direct her new documentary. Appears in the files clutching to a topless man. I think the topless man is Jean-Luc Brunel, if I'm not mistaken, for the record. Yeah, this is the Rush Hour guy. Okay, I have to pee real quick. I'll get back to this in a second. Here, watch this retaliatory strikes against ISIS in Syria. While I was pissing in the bathroom, I found out that yes, this one that we were looking at, the grand jury from the Southern District in New York, that is new. It was unredacted. This was one of the files I think that was previously completely blacked out, and this is now unredacted. So we'll go into it in a second. Let's finish this though.
We're really trying to support the president agenda and slowing down inflation, and I think we're on the right track. But
bro, this is literally that's it. These are some of the biggest cultists, okay? And even the biggest cultists are like, yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. I assume, I think it's on the right track. I hope it's on the right track. Understand something. The very fact that people who are basically fucking lobotomized into believing that Donald Trump can do no wrong, even those guys cannot simply believe that the economy is doing better when their pockets are fucking hurting. Okay? It's that simple. If you got these guys that are supposed to be in the pocket, okay? These guys that are supposed to be unconditionally and uncompromisingly defending Donald Trump, you got those guys singing a tune like this, it's fucking over, dude. It's Jover, brother. This is why I'm telling you, like, in the absence of things changing quick, which there's no indication that it will, and if things do change, it'll be for the worse, not for the better, specifically around the economy. A lot of these guys who are still trying to defend Donald Trump are going to turn on him. And we have to be there to pull him back. Okay? We have to be there to pull them back to reality.
Still have a lot more work to do.
Now, this weekend marks the start of President Trump's holiday stay at his Florida home, Mar-a-Lago. Now, he says he'll be doing mostly work, and that could include a possible meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Adriana?
All right, Willie, thank you so much.
The U.S. Coast Guard is currently seizing a sanctioned vessel off the coast of Venezuela. That's according to ABC News sources. It's now the second vessel.
Oh God, here we go. But yeah, getting back to our pedophile administration, okay? Because remember, when people are telling you like, oh man, things are fucking surely really bad, right? This is your opportunity to ask them like, okay, banning transgenders from athletic competition, did that actually help you in any way? Did that, Israel's doing a genocide. Pedophiles are running all over the administration. Some of those pedophiles are linked up with Israel too, for the record. And your living standards have not improved. Your infrastructure is your infrastructure is in a dire state of disrepair. Seemingly all the money goes to unlimited warfare. Okay. But hey, you own the libs. You dunked on the transgenders, right? Did that help? We're now deporting random neighbors of ours, people in our communities that have done no wrong, really, because Trump told you that those guys are all violent criminals. Meanwhile, we know who the violent criminals are, right? They're the ones who are getting redacted in the Jeffrey files. Are things getting better for you? And if not, maybe it's time to seek out an alternative. Okay? Maybe it's time to look for an alternative vision. It's obvious that the Trump administration lied to you. Okay? It's that simple. And sometimes those lies are done at the behest of predators continuing to run amok. What is this? CIA and Mossad and pedo elite are running some kind of sex trafficking, entrapment, blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean islands. They're going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-girlfriend who was a spy. They will torture me to death. What is this? He died? I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. It's a random cryptocurrency guy who could have died for other reasons. You know what I mean? Crypto-related reasons. Who could have been killed for crypto-related reasons rather than, finding the truth or something. I love that while I'm in the middle of covering these insane things that are happening with like the financial elite, okay, there's always still a dumbass being like, didn't you put to sleep with sex slaves in Berlin in 2010? Pot calling the kettle black. I went to a legal brothel that still operates as a legal brothel in 2010 when I was fucking 19 years old. The fuck are you talking about? Do you think these two things are in the same vein as one another, or are you trying to stop me from talking about Jeffrey with an idiotic misdirection? It kind of feels like you are not very sincere about your cause here. Kind of feels like you're defending pedophiles, you know? Why are you defending pedophilia and pedophiles of the financial elite by simply inventing a crime where no crime took place? In my case, why are pedos and billionaires defended so much? I don't know. Maybe they think they'll be super wealthy, super powerful pedophile billionaires one day. It's the same reason why people defend fucking billionaires in general. DOJ is removing searchable files. I mean, they never really fully made the file searchable anyway. And I don't know if that was just like broken and busted or something. I don't know. Could have been broken due to incompetence, or could have been deliberately created that way. Yeah. They constantly try to catch you out in some perceived hypocrisy while they're likely support some of the biggest hypocrites online. No, that's literally what it is. That's always what it is. It's a way to engage in hypocrisy fishing, to go, la, 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 I can't hear you. I have assumed you are hypocritical in your position and don't have a fully fleshed out worldview, and therefore I don't have to listen to you. Anyway, this is the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, Jane Doe proceeding under a pseudonym plaintiff v. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. This is a different lawsuit, irrelevant to the release. I mean, or not relevant to this round of releases, I think. Were they just unredacted? No, I think they were unredacted. This was unredacted. This was previously all black. The Southern District of New York grand jury indictment. You were explaining earlier that Redacted says she was approximately 14 when this began. Did she tell you about whether she had any conversations with Epstein about her age? Yes. What did she tell you? She said that she told him she was 14. Have you asked Jane Doe what Epstein's house was like? Yes. How did she describe it to you? She gave a lot of detail about the house. She talked about the office having a round desk in it. She talked about the massage room and had a massage table. It had lotions. It had moisturizers. On the walls, there were sketches or paintings of naked females on them. And she also talked about a library in his residence that looked like it was something from Out of Beauty and the Beast. Is that how she described it to you? Yes. So we've been talking about what you've learned during interviews with Jane Doe. Just take a step back. How did you first establish contact with her? My partner and I located her at the residence. What did she say to you when you first approached her? She was very nervous when we first talked to her. And she told us that she was 16. She went and massaged and he masturbated and he didn't touch her. And again, what was her demeanor like when she said this to you? She was very nervous. And then this entire part is redacted. She was just very nervous while we were speaking with her. Were you able to conduct a full interview with her at that time? No. At a later point, were you able to conduct a full and thorough interview with her? Yes. Why she said that when you first approached her? Did you ask her that? Yes. What did she explain to you? She told us that she didn't even really remember what she had told us initially because she was so nervous. She was so worried. She was really concerned that if she talked to us that she was going to jail. So she was really worried about being in trouble. That's so sad, dude. Like, she's so young. She's so young that and so like so destroyed that she thinks she's in trouble. This is very common again in minors, like that she thinks she's doing something wrong. Did there come a point in time when asked Jane Doe to bring other girls to him? Yes. What happened? She did. She reached out to other girls that she knew to see their interest. I want to ask you a little bit about what Jane Doe's told you about her role in bringing other girls to. Let me first just ask in general, how would she find new girls? She would meet them through friends of friends. She met them in the clubs, different social settings. In general, what kinds of things would she tell them about what to expect? She told them that they would have to give a massage either with their underwear on or nude, that he would want his nipples touched, and that he would masturbate. Would she tell them anything about payment? Yes. What would she tell them? She'd tell them that they would get $300 for massaging him. This is why libertarians love talking about removing the age of consent, where they'll be like, well, the non-aggression principle has not been violated here. This is a contract. Did Jane Doe have a sense in general of the ages of the girls that she brought to? She estimated around 13, 14-year-olds to 17-year-olds. They were mostly underage girls that she brought. She did bring a couple that were 18. Approximately how long did she participate in bringing girls? 3 years that she went. So from 14 to 17. So approximately how old was she when this stopped? 17. During that period, over those 3 years approximately, did she have a sense about how many girls she brought over the years to the house? She approximately brought 20 to 50 girls. Did she work with anyone else in recruiting the girls for? Yes. Who did she work with? Another girl her age, also redacted. Who is redacted? She was a friend of Redacted's that was living with her at the time. Did Redacted provide you with this photograph? Yes. And what did she explain to you about this photograph? This is Redacted on the left, and that's the other Jane Doe on the right. They were approximately 16 years old at the time the picture was taken. And during this time period, around the time when this photograph was taken, when they were approximately 16, is that when they were working, recruiting girls for? Yes. So Jeffrey groomed one of the 14-year-olds, among, I assume, many others, into getting new victims of the same age range for approximately 3 years, from 14 to 17. Okay? There are slides that reference that were released alongside this. She would call who she believed was his, or she assumed was his assailant, a woman named Redacted. Why would she call? She would call Redacted and say, I have a girl who can work. This has to be Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Or I guess maybe, why would they fucking redact that? It can't be Ghislaine. It feels like it's definitely Ghislaine. She would call Redacted and say, I have a girl who can work, and they would schedule that appointment. In conversations with Redacted, it's how they refer to these massage sessions as work. Once session was scheduled, would Redacted go with the girl to the house? Yes. What would she do in general once she brought the girl to the house? So the first time she would take a girl, they would go to the residence, they'd wait in the office until they could be escorted upstairs. The first time she would go with the girl, she would go up with her so the girl felt comfortable and kind of knew what to do. additional visits after that. She would wait downstairs while the girl did the massage upstairs. Also, Ghislaine participated in this as well, for the record, according to a victim testimony. Ghislaine also did the same stuff, where she would bring girls in, massage Jeffrey alongside the girls first, and would like accompany them. What? Accompanying slides? Are you sure? Because this is this is not New York. This is Palm Beach. I have a female for him. She has a female friend for you. Please call back as soon as possible. She will be here at 4 p.m., but she needs to talk to you before that. Please call her back. Her new phone number. Please call her. Trump's name is on page 10. Oh, Donald Trump. A memo. But nothing else. There's no message in there. Wow. He called to say how much he disagrees. Yeah, he called to shake his head. He didn't even say anything. He just shook his head and finger wag. That's why there's no note in the memo. He just did this. You know? Over time, she noticed any pattern in the girls that Epstein seemed to like? She did. What did she notice? Did he like young, petite, natural girls? What does she mean by natural girls? That girls were under 18, weren't completely developed. Oh. Did she recall any particular expressions that Epstein would use to express his preferences when he was giving feedback about the girls? I'm sorry, say that again. In your conversations with Redacted, did she recall any particular expressions? Yeah. He would tell her, you know what I like. If she brought someone he didn't like, he'd be like, come on, you know what I like. What was her understanding of what that meant? She understood that meant girls who were under 18. Did Redacted tell you how much paid for her for recruiting other girls? Yes. How much? $300. That was for each new girl, or for every new session with a new girl when she brought her in. That was for each new girl in every session that she went with whatever girl. She would schedule the sessions through Redacted, would either contact her on her phone, or she would reach out to Redacted to say she could work. Anyway, I'm going to scroll through this stuff. Approximately how old was Redacted when this photograph was taken? Approximately 19. Based on her participation in the interviews with Redacted, have you learned where she was living when she was about 14 or 15? She was living with a friend of her. What was in the West Palm Beach area in Florida? Oh, was that in the West Palm Beach? Yeah, you mentioned that she was living with a friend. To be clear, she was living with her parents during that time. No, why not? She had a difficult home life. Again and again. It's always the same shit. It's always the same thing. Identifying victims with a rough home life and then having them bring in other additional victims as well from a similar background. If you were familiar with the investigation and the trial, you saw this as a pattern. Okay? How did she respond when she heard that? She agreed to it. Did she end up going to the residence? Yes. How many times did she go to the residence? Approximately 60 times. Ever go there with her friends? Yes. About in 2002. All right. During these times, went to his residence in Palm Beach. Did she explain to you what would typically happen? And then this is basically the exact same testimony that other victims gave. I have another question. I've never heard anyone seen anything mention any men victims. Is it possible that there were 1,200 female victims and no one on the island ever wanted a male companion? Seems super strange that there's so many victims over so many years with so many abusers, only female victims. Actually, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But the common ones that we do know, like the ones that we do know are, and that's an interesting question for the record. I know that some chatters were yelling at you, but that is strange. I think there are male victims, but the most that have come out, that's false. There's 25 male victims. Yeah, there's definitely male victims, but the ones that are the ones that have come out and spoken out against Jeffrey Epstein, like openly state that they were victims of Jeffrey, have all been, like, all the high profile victims have been women. And yes, the overwhelming majority were sold her soul for $300 a person. Dog, the person you're talking about was literally groomed and raped as a child. Okay? Like, that's insane. Why do you think there's age of consent laws? Why do you think there is a mutual understanding that people under the age of 18 cannot consent? Because they're children. Okay? That's why the adult is the responsible party here. That's an insane thing to do. It's insane victim blaming. That's a child that was exploited to do this stuff. Chill. This is Alan Dershowitz's alt account. Yeah. How is that any different than saying that the 13-year-old was asking for it? You know what I mean? Which is unironically what Alan Dershowitz did say. Alan Dershowitz, in his defense in the 2008 case, quite literally mapped out a pattern of victim blaming and slut shaming for 13-year-old girls. It's such an insane thing to think about now. And it was fucked up even back then, and yet they did it. Isn't that crazy? That was a successful defense for Alan Dershowitz, a tenured Harvard professor, by the way. He called the 13 and 14-year-old girls slutty prostitutes that knew exactly what they were getting into. Isn't that fucking crazy? Oh. He also had PIs follow the victims' families around. Yes, he even had PIs, or we don't know if this was Alan Dershowitz or not, but I remember cops on the investigation feeling threatened that they were being surveilled by either also private investigators or potentially members of law enforcement at the federal level. And that type of rhetoric passed? Yes. Chatter, that type of rhetoric not only passed, but passed with fucking flying colors. I'm telling you, Alan Dershowitz is a tenured Harvard professor who gets to go on television all the time. Barry Weiss, as recently as a month ago, said, we need to see more from Alan Dershowitz. Also, slut shaming and victim blaming is an effective tool that defense attorneys use even to this day, for the record. I hope you understand that. This is why, like, as hysterical as, social justice warriors or feminists may seem, there is a major discrepancy in the criminal justice system in the way that people actually analyze this kind of stuff. And there is a lot of validity to the rape culture, the rape culture statements that feminists often make, because this kind of stuff would not work if people in the jury did not also have a similar mindset about what women's place is in society, about patriarchal constructs that exist. Their understanding of power dynamics is so distorted. All of a sudden, they're not thinking about like an abused 13-year-old that was groomed, raped, but they're thinking of like how women are. You know how women are, and it works. It shouldn't, but it does. And it still does to this day, for the record. Anyway, obviously, Alan Dershowitz is unique in this instance because not only did he mount a successful defense for Jeffrey Epstein, his client, but he also personally was alleged to be involved with the victims himself. Something that he, of course, spent most of his life arguing against, saying things like, oh, I kept my underwear on at all times, for example. Yeah, Alan Deuce saying they knew what they were getting into and talking about sex trafficking is insane, especially when they're 13-year-old girls, because even if they're grown, that's still a crime. That's using another crime as a defense for a crime that's just as bad. Yep. Except in that case, it was successful. Defense attorney here, victim blaming is still used in defense theories, but in fairness, it would not work in a trial where the lack of consent is due to age. No, I know. I don't think... I like to think that we've evolved beyond that a little bit. But yes, for adult rape cases, they still use it very aggressively. I mean, they used it with fucking Diddy successfully. So that's definitely still very much a thing. Yeah, he did not like dark-skinned or black girls, by the way. That's the other thing. We saw that already on a separate piece of evidence. He did not like dark-skinned or black girls. Did she recall him using any particular expressions? Yes. He told her, you know what I like. What was her understanding of what he meant? She understood that he liked them under 18. When Bleep went to his house first, did she tell Epstein that she was older than she really was? Yes. Why did she tell him she was older? One of the girls told her to say that she was older than she was. When she started recruiting girls, did she tell them to say that they were older? Yes. Did there come a point in time when she stopped giving girls that instruction? Yes. Why did she stop doing that? She said it didn't matter. He didn't care how old they were as long as they weren't over 18. Why did she think he didn't care about whether the girls were over 18 or not? Because she said he had preferred under 18, and that's what he wanted her to bring. Why did she think that that was what he preferred? Because that's what he told her. You know what I like? And she understood that to mean under 18. Yeah, he was pretty open about it. I mean, there's additional evidence that we looked at yesterday where he just straight up was like, you brought me overage girls. I can't believe I'm saying the term overage girls. You brought me adults and not minors. And he actually had an argument with one of the people and demanded to see identification to confirm that they were under the age of 18. How fucking insane. Now, one could think that this is his own personal sexual proclivity, right? Like he was really adamant about them being underage. But there's one other aspect to this, in my opinion, pure speculation, purely speculative. Why would you be so adamant about ensuring that they are underage? Blackmail. Not just power chatters, no. Because he did not sexually assault and engage in the act of statutory rape for 1,200 people, okay, 1,200 girls. And even then, if some are over the age of 18, why should he care all that much, right? If rape is about power over the other person, and if rape is about coercion, and that's what you're deriving satisfaction from, you wouldn't necessarily care if some of the people that you are sexually assaulting are either 18 or over the age of 18. The only reason why you would care that much is because you want to make sure that you can maximize your leverage over others if you are going to use these people for blackmail. Okay? If it's just about like their physical appearance, I don't think you would care that much about whether they were over the age of 18 or not, if they looked the part, right? If it was purely about sexual gratification as a pedophile, or even in even certain instances, like he wouldn't check their IDs. You know, someone can look underage while not being underage. I assume that the reason why he was, doing this was specifically so that if he was repeatedly going after, if he was repeatedly using some of these girls that he was grooming for other clients, he wanted to make sure that they were underage, specifically so that he could use that as a way to blackmail people. You talking blackmail to victors or his fellow perps or both? This part is about phone messages. All right, switching topics. Have you become aware that 2005 police officers from the Palm Beach Police Department executed a search warrant at his house at El Brillo Way? And you review some of the materials that were seized? Yes. Did they find a massage table, sex toys? Yes. Did they find phone messages? Yes. Could you please explain for the grand jury what we're looking at here? This is a room in his Palm Beach residence. Down here on the closed right corner, you're going to see the message pads. Oh, this is the message pads that we were just looking at previously. The ones that actually had, here's the Palm Beach residence. So these are the accompanying materials, okay? These are the message pads like she has a female for Mr. J.E., stuff like that. And in the message pads, there was just one message per page, or were there four laid out on two and two on the bottom? There were four, two on the top, two on the bottom. Message pad we're looking at in this photograph, was that the only set of messages that were recovered from the residence? No. All right, so let's talk a little bit about those phone messages found in the house. So this message is dated September 30th, 2004. Redacted's name is on it, and then the message says, she has a female for Mr. Jeffrey. So given the date on this message, if this message was left by Redacted, given her date of birth, would she have been about 16 years old when this message was left? Yes. So then they go through all of the messages that you saw here, right? She has a female for Mr. J.E. I have a female for him. And of course, it's like the name is also redacted here because this was most likely the other underage girls that he was grooming to bring in other underage girls. So the message on the bottom doesn't have a date on it. There is a message from Trump here as well, but I guess they don't really talk about it here, or they must have redacted the message, or they redacted Trump's name from the document because it doesn't come up in this one at all in the 56 pages, even though we know for a fact that his name is on one of the message slips, which seemingly came at what? 5:15 a.m. or 5:15 p.m.? I assume 5:15 p.m., right? 5:15 a.m. seems strange. Oh, yeah. I guess in the convention, they would just mark a.m. if it's a.m., 11 a.m., and then 7 p.m., 9:55 p.m., 5:15 p.m. Let's see, slide 10 maybe? Upper, so you can tell when these messages were approximately left, but beyond the fact that one of them is dated, you're not sure, correct. Can you walk us through what we see here on the message pad? So bottom right, bleep is listed. On the top right, phone number is listed. And it states, wondering if you want to work with her tomorrow or what time. So the message on the bottom marked redacted doesn't have a date on it, but if these messages were left in approximately November 2004 based on redacted's date of birth, which she had been 17. So this message was dated January 13th, 2005. And then they move on from slide 10. Okay, never mind. Yeah, it's the bottom left one that had Donald Trump on it. But they don't mention bottom left here. So we need names of people that went to the parties. So this grand jury indictment that was recently unsealed seemingly is more so about one element. These amounts of money are blowing mine. Like, has Jeffrey Jedediah Epstein, why is he giving $200 per person? Do you think it was like another power flex? Why not just throw him $10K? What? So does that mean that Trump was one of the clients people were being procured for at that location since the others were for Epstein? I don't know. It could have been just a phone call that Trump made. This was back when they were friends, or at least friendly with one another. It's very obvious that Donald Trump did leave a message. They didn't say what the message was, or at least called. It's on the slip. But this is all the way back in 2002. So I don't know if this is, I don't know if Donald Trump here is I mean, they were neighbors. I don't know if this implies that he was, a client of Jeffrey Epstein's at this point, because most of these phone slips, most of these message slips are from Jeffrey Epstein's assistant telling him that the girls are coming in, with one exception, and that exception being Donald Trump. And there's no message there at all. Now, I don't assume that there's any OPSEC here at all. Okay. Also, yes, $300 was a lot of money back then, especially for a 14-year-old. That's a crazy amount of money. Anyway, explain to you typically happen, and then, well, this entire indictment is about Jeffrey Epstein's previous sexual misconduct and statutory rape of minors, and it makes sense that it's just about that because this is a special agent tasked with handling that sort of thing. So this is just one element that was unsealed and doesn't actually show the full scope of the investigation. There are different files that are still not unsealed, or different files that haven't been released or are completely redacted. Many more that should come out similar to this one. But this is just the one angle. This is one of the many different charges. Okay? You're kind of dragging this. Can we get back to the booming economy? Yeah. That's the funniest part about this otherwise like horrifying story, is that there's not really much that Donald Trump can lean on, Like, that chatter is obviously joking, but what can Trump do? What could he even use as an exit ramp here, right? What could he talk about? What could he make people pay attention to that's like much more interesting? He has very little confidence remaining in him from his own base. So he's just doing all the seizures of oil tankers, I guess, which is crazy because this last one that was just seized is a Chinese one.